Well, hi there. So today I'm going to do a beanie style hat in my Twisted Owl stitch. And I really like this stitch. I've done quite a few things in Twisted Owl. I've done a 10 stitch blanket, and I've been really liking working with it in the flat panel. And I've been working on a sock with it in it too, and I really like its look in the round. So I've decided I'm going to make a easy hat that'd be good for beginners in it because it's an easy stitch. It's really no harder to do than a stitch like my owl eye stitch, and it's a very old stitch. I developed it back just after owl eye, and then it just stayed as a swatch for a long time in a box and didn't even really get a name for quite a long time. And then I started working with it again because I've been working with owl eye a lot, and I'm ready to really start working with this one now. So the way I'm going to start it now is I'm going to do it on a loom that I have here. It's a 36 peg loom. It's 3/4 inch, so it's the big gauge. It's one of the Doris set. It comes in their set of looms. It looks kind of yellow on the monitor, but it is an orange loom. But it looks quite yellow, but it's not. It's quite orange. And the yarn I'm using is Charisma, and it's a Charisma in the color Haze. It's an interesting mix of taupe and purple and a very light lilac-y color and a light off-white color, and yeah, some other very light, like kind of a taupe color. Okay, so that's what I'm going to use. So I'm going to start by doing a chain cast on. It's a crochet chain cast on. I'm going to do it without a crochet hook. So what I do, I just take it, make a loop, just like that, and then put the working yarn through it and have a slip knot, and then I just place that on the first peg. And then I take my loom hook, put it under the loop, and pull the working yarn through to get a loop. And then I tighten it by pulling on the working yarn here in the back and make sure that this stitch is tight. And then I just take that loop, put it behind the next peg, holding on to it, and pull the working yarn through it. And that's all there is to the cast on. Put the loop behind, working yarn through, tighten it up, behind, working yarn through, tighten it up. And at any time, if you want this loop to be smaller, you just pull on it. So working yarn behind and tightening it up. I mean the loop behind and tightening it up. And that's all there is to it. And we just do that all the way around the loop. So I'm just going to put you on pause because it'd be boring watching me do it all the way around the loom. And we will catch up when I'm close to the other side. Okay, so here I am almost at the end. So I take the the loop, put it behind the peg, tighten it up, and then here's the one we started at. And so you just take the loop and let it fall over there. And I just take the loom hook and knit it over, and now it's all secured and you're ready to go. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do now is finish the cast on. So I'm going to do a row of owl eye, and so I just do a U-wrap over peg 1, come over, and then I do a wrap over peg 1 and 2 and just knit it over and knit it over. Whatever peg you're on, peg 1, you go over peg 1 and 2, knit it over. I have lots of videos of owl eye on my channel, so you can go watch those if you'd like to see more of a demonstration of it. And then just around and knit it over. on peg 1 over peg 1 and 2, knit it over. And we just do all the way around. Okay, so I will meet you back up at the beginning peg again. Okay, so I've done my row of owl eye all the way around the loom, and now I'm going to do one row of purl, and it'll be the only purl in the whole hat. And I just want to do it here at the beginning of the brim to make sure that the edge stays nice and straight. So how you purl is you put the working yarn into the loop. There we go. And then pull up the working yarn, take the loop off, and let the loop fall to the front. So take the hook, put it in the loop, pull up the working yarn, and you pull up the whole loop and put the new loop on. Under, pick up the working yarn, put it on the peg, and tighten it up. And there's lots and lots of videos on YouTube if you haven't purled before. So we just do one row of purl. So I will meet you up when we get back to the starter peg again. Okay, so I've done my row of purl, and now I'm just going to do owl eye, and our brim is going to be owl eye stitch. So how we start that, there's our peg 1. We always come over and do a U-wrap on peg 1, and now we can go and do a second wrap over peg 1 and one over peg 2. And wherever we are, we're on peg 1, so we wrap 1 and 2, and we just keep going like that. And you can make your brim however long you like it. You could make just a 1-inch brim if you like thin brims. I'm going to do about 1.5 inches. If you like a really long brim, you can do one that's 2 inches long. So I'm just going to keep working in owl eye till I get the brim the length that I want it, and then we can catch up. Okay, so we'll see you in a few. Okay, now once you've got your brim as big as you want it, you start to do the stitch. And we're doing the twisted owl stitch for the body of the hat. So I've got a nice big close-up here so you can see me do the stitch. It's a very easy stitch. So here's your last peg where you did the owl eye, and when you ended, you go over it because you want to make sure, and knit it off, because you want to make sure that every peg has 2 stitches on it when you're doing owl eye. Okay, so here you are, and to do this, you go behind it. So for the twisted owl, you go behind, wrap it. That's actually an E-wrap stitch we're doing. Then we come from behind the peg in front and wrap it over again. So we have 2 stitches on every peg. So we go behind and front, knit it off, come back, go over the peg, knit it off. Okay, we're behind, wrap behind, go over, front, and go over the peg. And you may wonder why I have such a short piece here. I actually had to cast this on and put it on again to show you this stitch because the middle part of my video messed up, so I had to redo this. So I just put some stitches on to do this, but I actually did my brim 1.5 inches. Okay, so anyway, here we are. Go behind the peg, knit it over, in front, knit it over again, behind, knit it over, wrap around to the front, knit it over again. You're going to want to keep this loose because if you get too tight, it's going to be hard to knit over. So for example, let's say I did this tight. And when I go to knit this over, it's way over here and it's going to be really hard to get it over. Okay, so I'm just going to loosen it. And here's showing you can always loosen your stitches. Then when I go back over it, I want it to be looking like this so I could easily knit it over. Okay, so if you ever find you're getting too tight, and here you are, too tight to do this, just loosen it a bit. Then you can come over, knit it over. So it doesn't matter if you're the world's tightest knitter, you can loosen your stitches to make it easy for you anytime. And so I'm just doing it faster to show you that you really can start whipping along when you're doing this stitch. Okay, just like that. And you're going to keep doing this stitch until you get how long you want your hat. I'm going to do this hat because it's just going to be a beanie hat to be about 8 inches, which will fit a child, a teenager, or a really adult with a really small head. So you're probably going to want to go a little bit longer, and that's measuring the entire length of the hat, including the brim. You're going to want to go longer if you have a bigger head than that. So you might want to do 8.5 for a small lady's head, up to 9, maybe 9 to 9.5 for medium to large, and maybe even 10 if you have a really large head. So whatever you like for your hat length. You could also make it into a bulky hat by adding an inch to 1.5 inches to even 2 inches longer than your beanie size. So again, just behind the peg, knit it over, in front of the peg, knit it over. There's a little gear on a computer, and if you click on it, bottom right hand corner, you'll be able to slow down the video. If you have an app, there'll be some other icon somewhere that you can click on to slow down the video. So do that if you need to slow it down to see what I'm doing more. Also, I have a stitch video for Twisted Owl, so you can go have a look at that if you want to see the stitch demonstrated for longer. But it's just an E-wrap type of stitch around it, and you hold it in back like you're doing a U-wrap and knit it over. And that's all there is to this stitch. And this stitch has a really nice texture, which you'll see next in the video, the next part of the video, which I already finished. Okay, so just keep knitting till you get your length, and then we will be at the part where we're going to just finish it off and cast off. So we'll see you there. Okay, so I'm at 7.5 inches, and I only want to go to 8 inches for a beanie, for this beanie. If you have, that would fit a child or a teenager or a woman with a very small head. You want to go longer than that. If you have a medium to bigger head, probably more like 8.5, 9, or 9.5 inches, depending on the size of your head. Anyway, here's how it's looking. So there's the owl eye brim, and here is your twisted owl stitch coming up here. And so now to finish it off, I'm going to do a few rows of E-wrap. So I'm just going to do the E-wrap, measure it, and make sure it comes to my 1/2 inch. So that's probably going to be 3 or 4 rows. So E-wrap, of course, is just like that. Oh, that parrot of mine thinks he wants something. Anyway, you just E-wrap. So you're just going to do 2 or 3 rows of E-wrap, and then we'll catch up and finish off the hat. Okay, so I've gone around a couple times doing E-wrap, and now I'm just going to start to reduce the crown in order to bind off. So you can start, sometimes I start with this one, sometimes I start with this one, depends on the mood I'm in. I'm going to start with this one, and you just move it over to the next peg. And so we've reduced by 1, and then we take the loop and move it over to the next peg. This will just give us a less bulky crown. And this is my favorite way to bind off, actually. And it's a little awkward because I'm doing it in a way so you'll be able to see, but I can't see the back of the peg when I'm putting it on. So wouldn't be the way I would be doing it if I wasn't doing a video. So what we're going to do, and to make it easier for me too to get all these on here, is we're just going to pause and I'm going to keep moving them as I go around. And if you have an odd pegged loom, that's okay. It doesn't matter. It'll still decrease it. It doesn't have to be perfectly even with these pegs. Okay, we'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, so I've done that all the way around. And now I'm just going to knit them over. And you could actually do that as you were going too. Doesn't matter. Or you can do it at the end, whatever mood you feel in. We just knit them over. A couple of these got a bit tight. So I'm just going to go ahead and knit these all over. And we'll catch up over on the other side when we get back to here. Okay, so I'm just going to knit over the last couple here. And here we are. And then all I'm going to do is go around the loom 1.5 times, cut the yarn, and we take a needle, I've got these huge needles, way bigger than I thought they were going to be when I ordered them from Amazon. And then we're just going to start picking up the loops from the bottom. Okay, and then we go over to the next one, and that's all we do. We just go around picking up the loops like that. Very easy to do. Doesn't take very long at all. Now we're almost done. We're going to have a hat. This hat didn't take very long at all to do. A couple hours and you got the hat. So it's very fast and easy hat to do. And it doesn't look like it was that fast and easy to do either. It looks like, oh, you made this really nice hat. But it's easy enough for even a beginner. Very easy stitches. The only purls used were the ones I used when I started the hat, so that the brim would lay flat. Have to have at least one purl after you're cast on. Okay, and then when we come back, we go through the beginning peg again. And that's it. We are casted off. So all we have to do now is take the yarn off the pegs. And you can use your loom hook, or if everything's loose enough, you can just pick it off with your fingers. Which it mostly is for me here. And there you go. It's off the loom, except for a couple places it got stuck on there. And here's this, and I'm just going to cut it a bit shorter for when I pull it. There we go. And I'm going to tuck it inside the hat and put it inside out and pull it from the inside out to tighten it. And what I do always is I hold it when I have it tightened, and I come back and check just to make sure that this looks really nice on this side. And as you see, we got a nice brim. There it is, nice and flat. And my needle seems to have fallen off, so I'll put it back on. And then all we do is we pull this tight, and I'm going to hold it right here at the crown, and we just sew around in a circle to secure it. And you can go around a few times, or you can just go around once. I tend to not go around very much. I've never had a crown come undone yet, so I'm not that particular. Just go around a few times. Why is that end doing that? There. Okay, and then you just tie a knot. And then I might go through just another place and tie another knot. And then you can weave in the end of your yarn if you'd like, depending who you're making it for. I just cut it and leave the end because it's not going to bother me in there. And then turn it to the right side. And then you want to stretch your stitches a little bit. So stretch it lengthwise. And I'm going to stretch it widthwise. And then you're just going to take a yarn needle and weave this end in from the beginning. And there's your hat. Got a lot of texture to it. Like, look at that. Lots of texture. And here's what your tip of your brim looks like. So you've got nice tight stitches on the brim. And here's what the crown looks like. It's a nice flat crown. You could put a pom-pom on it or just leave it as is. So I hope you enjoyed the video. And until next time, bye.